Good afternoon, my lovelies. What it do, what it do, what it do. This Miss Yaakov coming straight from that Spiker Star, a.k.a. the Messenger, a.k.a. the Virgo Goddess, a.k.a. the Daughters of Zion, a.k.a. that Topaz Gem Sapphire. Hey, listen, always have a message for you, but it's up to you to discern what Miss Yaakov is trying to say. Remember, I'm just an outsider looking into your world, seeing things that you just don't see, okay? But dig this. The name of this is called, With the 42 Laws of maat, grant the Egyptian goddesses and kings into God's kingdom. The 42 laws of Maat, known as the Negative Confession, were not written by a single author, but were a compilation of declarations of innocence found within various copies of the Egyptian Book of the Dead, which took shape during the Middle Kingdom, and were a part in the deceased's judgment in the afterlife. The divine ancestors, the ancestors of goddess of Maat herself. Isaiah 65:17 speaks about God creating a whole new creation, a whole new heaven and a whole new earth, okay? Leviticus 26:42 speaks about the covenant between Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It doesn't have no covenant with, God doesn't have no covenant with the Egyptians, okay? He only has a covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, okay? Jeremiah 43:13 speaks about the destruction of the sacred pillars of Beth Shemesh that are in the land of Egypt, and the houses of the gods of Egyptians shall burn with fire, okay? So the destruction, so Jeremiah 43:13 talks about destroying the sacred pillars of Egypt, okay? And Beth Shemesh is sun worship, okay? Sun worship. And a lot of these Egyptian gods and goddesses, okay, the little kings or whatever that's running around, they practice a lot of sorcery and divination that has something to do with the dead, okay, which is prohibited, not to worship the dead, okay? And that's what the Book of the Dead comes from. So the 42 laws of Maat comes from the Book of the Dead, okay, which is prohibited to worship anything of the dead, okay? But a lot of the Egyptians worship this and they practice this. Now I was listening to this female by the name of Ocean Hills. Sometimes I listen to her to see what she's talking about, to see where she at with it. You know what I'm saying? And just by what comes out of her mouth, it just appears that she wants to save her soul. She wants to save her soul, and she wants her soul to be part of God's kingdom. She wants her soul to dwell on a new earth, in a new heaven, okay? But she doesn't quite understand that she has to come out of Egypt from the house of bondage in order to make it there, okay? She thinks that the 42 laws of Maat is going to take her there and take all of them there, and that's just simply not the case, because it's clear in Jeremiah 43:13, okay, about the destruction of the sacred pillars of Beth Shemesh, that Beth Shemesh shall be destroyed. Okay, it is prophesied in Jeremiah, okay, the prophet. Okay, so a lot of people was hustling backwards with this. Okay, instead of them going forwards, they're going backwards. A lot of people don't take the time, okay, to do a little bit of soul searching, okay, a little bit of research to find out, okay, and ask themselves some questions and meditate. What do they have to do in order to make it a part of God's kingdom? They never took the time to do that because they're so busy being distracted and all that. And another thing else with Pharaoh, okay, Pharaoh had been defeated even in the Torah, okay? Pharaoh had been defeated over and over again. He has gotten plagued with, he done got hit with the 10 plagues of Egypt. Okay, the 10 plagues, and then the 3 days of darkness, okay? Egypt been getting defeated over and over and time again, okay? It's something about Egypt, okay? And then the Israelites, okay? The Israelites, too, complained to God himself, okay, about the treatment of Pharaoh, okay? Because Pharaoh is foul, okay? Pharaoh isn't good, okay? He's not a good guy. He's not a good character, okay? He's not. Okay, so the Israelites, we complained to God himself about the treatment of Pharaoh. Okay, so therefore Moshe came to lead us out of Egypt from the house of bondage. Okay, if she wants to make it into God's kingdom, she has to take her mindset from the house of bondage and stop worshiping the dead and denounce all those evil gods of Egypt. Okay, Ra and Kemet and Horus and all them, and stop worshiping those gods. Okay, if she's real serious and sincere about dwelling in God's kingdom, okay, that's what she has to do, and she has to repent, just like everybody else. I had to do it. Everybody has to do it. If you want to be part of God's kingdom, that's what you have to do. Remember, he said you should not worship no other God, for he is a jealous God. Okay, he made that quite clear, not to worship no other God, and worshiping other gods is prohibited. It is law. Okay, that's what it is. Okay, but anywho, I'm about to get off this. Okay, bottom line is this: it's about saving your soul. You want your soul to dwell in God's presence, but you first got to sacrifice a lot of stuff, and that's the problem with a lot of people. They don't want to sacrifice. You got to sacrifice. You got to denounce a lot of worldly things. You got to denounce a lot of worldly things, a lot of worldly places, a lot of worldly people. Your mind has to be renewed and be replenished. Okay, she has to replenish her mind. She has to come from out of Egypt, from the house of bondage, just like anybody else. Okay, just like anybody else. And that's just what it is with the Israelites. Okay, we're coming out of Egypt from the house of bondage. 400 years of captivity is almost up. You want your soul to be redeemed from judgment. Okay, that's what this is about. This is about redemption. Your soul has to be redeemed from judgment in order to make it into God's new earth. Okay, the new heaven and the new earth. Glorious and beautiful. Way greater than this. That's here right now, okay? Because this is his parish. This is 400 years captivity, okay? And 400 years of captivity is almost up. And a lot of people is still in captivity, even in their own mind. Their mind is still enslaved. They keep holding on, keep holding on, keep holding on. They don't want to let go and denounce those Egyptian gods. They're not good at all. But anywho, I'm about to get off this. This is the Daughters of Zion, the Virgo goddess. Looking into your world, see things that you just don't see. I'm going.